Hello, I'm Irina Bokas. Welcome to the Future of Learning. For most kids, a K-12 educational experience starts with a K, a kindergarten. Since the first kindergarten was opened in 1837, it has been a place for telling stories, playing, drawing beautiful pictures, and learning by experience. Then it all changed. Now our little children expect to know and do much more than their parents when they were in kindergarten. And yet they're still little children who mostly learn by experience. What do we want kindergarten be and do here in Clarkston? And how do we achieve it? We had an opportunity to visit 2 schools and 2 kindergarten classrooms here in Clarkston to see what exactly our children learn and how. Jan Finney, who is here with me, is a kindergarten teacher at Springfield Plains Elementary, who is very passionate about letting the experience be the teacher of her students. Can we talk a little bit more about the experience part? I know that you're doing a lot of tinkering in your classroom, and from what I understand, tinkering is just messing with things and doing something that perhaps you don't even know what you're doing, just kind of experimenting. So why do you believe it's important for starters, and why is it also important for kindergartners to do that?
Yes. Well, tinkering is all about messing around with things to see how they work. It's very appropriate for kindergarten kids. We feel like we do a lot of tinkering in kindergarten. And in our classroom, our team of teachers decided this year that we would be a little bit more purposeful in the way that we structured and set up our tinkering activities so that the children could learn about many different concepts within the parameters of big ideas. And so tinkering is a chance for kids that involves them in the experience of defining a problem, solving problems, thinking creatively, working in teams, and also designing a solution to that situation, trying to figure out if their idea didn't work, what they're going to do. In other words, a little bit of some failure that is involved in all of that, how they're going to pick themselves up and try again.
And taking some risks.
Taking some risks, exactly. And being able to present their ideas, making their thinking visible. And so that fits really nicely into cultures of thinking, because we do look at big ideas and want children to think of themselves as contributors, problem solvers, and people who can contribute and think about problems and solve them, and that their ideas have value and have merit, and that every single child has something to contribute. And as they grow up from kindergarten all the way through high school and beyond, we're trying to instill in them the idea that their thinking is valuable, they're important, and that they have the capacity through practice and lots of experiences to impact the world. And we want them to be empowered to think that way, and boy does the world need them to be thinking about how to solve the world's big problems out there. And we start that in kindergarten with big ideas and thinking about solving problems through that design process. Define the problem, brainstorm how you're going to solve that problem, try it out, make modifications and improvements, and present that as one solution to a problem that might exist. In kindergarten, our most recent work that we've been doing has been to build that city that you just took a look at, and also we're doing some tinkering now with bird feeders and thinking about how we can help the environment and help birds to have food this terrible time of the year when there's so much snow on the ground. So it's kind of cool, and they feel very empowered to try that problem, tackle that problem.
So it's also about the ownership, right? The ownership of the product, and also it's about the building this global, if you wish, global competence in the way of, okay, how can I contribute?
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the classroom now. Okay, Jen, so could you please tell us a little bit more what children are doing it right now? I see just a lot of very curious things around here.
Our children in kindergarten are tinkering today. We've been studying living and non-living characters and animals in our environment, and the children have been looking at living things and what they need. We have a specific zoom in on birds in winter. And we know that many of the birds migrated, but there are some who are still here, and this is a time of year when they're very hungry. And there's a lot of snow on the ground. And so the children are thinking about the environment and ways to help. They think that making bird feeders might be a great way to address the need that these birds need some food. And so we started with some thinking routines. You can see those here. We did a See, Think, Wonder. We've taken a look at some different kinds of bird feeders. And the children are tinkering and designing their own. And they have to work in teams to do this, which is tricky. They're trying to work as a team of 4 and 5 children to create bird feeders together. So they have to listen to each other's views and viewpoints and ideas and put their ideas together to create something for the birds. So you'll see them in action.
Parameters? Do they have to do it any specific way, or it's up to them to decide?
They're deciding how it's going to go, and they'll notice as they go along that there are some things that work and things that don't work, and they've got to fix that. And they're working on their projects here at the tables.
All right. What kind of bird feeder is that?
That's this is for the birds stand on.
Okay, so the birds is going to stand on that?
No, on
that, okay. And what is this?
That's the nest, and that is the nursery.
So that's where you're putting the food? Okay.
And that's the
It's not just the feeder, it's also like a nest. That is very good. Thank you. All right, let's see what others have to make.
Wow, great thinking.
Wow, you have a different type of bird feeder. That is a tall one.
I'm gonna make a nest.
Can you please tell us what you're doing?
So this is where this is where they live.
It's all right. It's work in progress. So they're going to sit here, and that's where the food is going?
The water is going into it. The water is going into here.
And the water going on both sides. This is
This
perfect.
This is where they sit.
Okay, that's where they sit.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah, we need.
That is very interesting.
Okay.
And why is it so tall? Is it going to be in a
So the little animals can't eat it.
so little animals can't eat the birds or the food, right? Okay, that's very good thinking. Yes.
Those are for the birds. It's like that's where the code is.
Yes.
That's where the birds get the code.
Okay.
For the birds, so they can go to the bathroom.
Excellent. All right, let's go see. Well, that one is a tall one too. Look how tall that is. And what do you have here?
Bird feeder.
Bird feeder. And what is this?
That's food, and that's water.
And it's so tall too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like to do something like this, to put things together? To create? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Why do you like it?
This is really we're done. Because I made it.
Because you made it. Very good answer. Thank you.
The strings here, so I put.
Why is a string here?
I thought it was gonna be like if the animal, if the bird has like a hood wing, it can't. Like the bird thinks like it can't go to this one. We hook this onto the roof and it can't go
Thank you. And this one is a different one.
Tell us about this one.
So like we made this and then we put this jug right here.
Okay.
And I made this and then we like take this here, and then like we put a tube, and
Okay.
then we were gonna like cut it around, and then the baby birds, like the lower birds, can slide down here into the jug where it's soft.
So the birds are going through here and it's going right there, and that's like a nest? Wow, that is a great idea.
Well, I mean, the wool was in here, and then I changed it a little. I put like some wool in here so birds can like slide, and then they can like, go in. Or birds don't have to do that. I could like I could like put this down over here, and then they could get it.
And where's the food?
The food, well,
Would it go here?
yeah.
Okay. That is very cool design. Oh, wow. Oh, what exactly is it? That looks like an amazing project.
All right, back in December we were talking about measurement with the children, and we were building with building blocks and with Unifix cubes and comparing and using measurement language like taller, shorter, more narrow, and wide. And we took a look at the city of Detroit up on the screen, up on our big screen, and we were noticing those tall buildings and the short buildings and how cities look. And the kids became pretty interested in building their own city. And so we began to take virtual tours. We especially enjoyed doing a virtual tour of New York City, where we could really see the way those buildings were. You could get on, with the virtual tour, you could actually go down right on street level and see how those buildings looked, and then span up and see how tall they really were if you were standing on the street. And it was really cool to see the kids get excited about that, and they wanted to build tall buildings and short buildings. And we built our first hotel and the bank, and Mrs. Mahoney came in the door, and we noticed that both of those buildings that we had created weren't even as tall as she was. So then we were challenged in this project to build something that was even taller than our principal, Mrs. Mahoney, which is how the apartment building began to emerge. And the children looked online as we did our virtual tours. We noticed that our buildings needed some decoration, some windows and some doors to make it look like real buildings. And so we began to design, construct these different buildings that show up in cities. The children were super excited to see a hot dog stand. And when we got into building the hot dog stand, there were a lot of very interesting challenges that presented themselves. First of all, we had to go with scale. They wanted to build a great big hot dog stand, but that wouldn't make sense based on the size of our other buildings. So they had to think about what size the hot dog stand would really be in relation to other buildings. They wanted to figure out how to make that umbrella that goes on top, and that turned out to be quite a challenge because they were messing around with building blocks and different things to try to hold that umbrella material
So they actually had to kind of learn the proportion of things.
They did.
Yes.
And it was really neat because somebody finally decided that maybe we should open up a real umbrella and see how it's constructed under there. And they looked at the skeleton part of it and realized that, wow, there's a lot of support under there. And they went back to the tinkering materials that we had organized in the classroom, and they found pipe cleaners and began to put that together. So it was really cool. The children also noticed that there were bridges in every single city that we visited virtually. We looked at Chicago. We also, of course, looked at Detroit and New York City, and there were bridges. And so how do you build a bridge? Well, that was quite a challenge for us to get something that would hold weight. And so you can see that they have some different things that actually have, there's material inside of it to keep it.
Supporting block.
A supporting, yes. They also put lots of speed bumps and sensors here on this side because you have to go slow when you're coming off and on a bridge. Mrs. Gillum's class, who's right beside us, we have a shared room. Her class began to look online virtually at some of these cities, and they also contributed to the city, which was very cool because we not only had our class constructing and building, but another team of kids working with us. And that was very special. They created the zoo. We had to have signs and labels for all of these as well, which is very appropriate for kindergarten to label what we were creating. And you'll notice the school, our children were so happy to build a school, and it looks a whole lot like Springfield Plains because that's their frame of reference. That's what they know. So you've got the school, the children came up with ways to make the flower garden that's outside.
Okay.
Yes, and the playground is down here. We do have a playground in a green space in our city.
Okay.
Benches, here are our trees. It was very interesting for them to notice when we did the virtual tour that the buildings in big cities are actually taller than the trees. And that was a huge thing for kids to realize because trees, we know trees are quite tall, and yet these buildings are even taller than trees. So we had to build them that way. And that was kind of neat to see them put that together. Here's a cool restaurant that was built. Here's some green space, and you can see a tennis court, slides. This is the tether pole. We've got a garden back there. Thinking about how to make those flowers stand up was kind of an interesting challenge for them. The fire station, all cities have fire stations, and so that needed to be added. Here's some more green space. Here's a football stadium. Boy, lots of cities have football stadiums. And so in the process of all this, we began to read books about cities. In Reading Workshop, they were looking for books about traffic and about cities, tall buildings and short buildings and so forth. They also wrote about these buildings. Their city became the topic of a lot of our curriculum. It kind of was integrated throughout the day, and that was huge. We didn't realize that was going to happen. It just kind of emerged, and the children became very enthused about the city and how knowing this information is something they can carry with them, and they have a reference for lots of other things in life.
So it's almost like student-based, student-led learning. So that was coming from them.
And unfolded. Yes, it did.
Okay.
So the city is very exciting, and the kids did at the end, they did decide to name their city, and so you can see the sign here. They decided to name our city Dolphin City because we're the Springfield Plains Dolphins.
Okay.
And so
That
Dolphin
makes sense.
City was something, we had lots of names that were on our brainstorm list, but the most votes, Dolphin City. So that was pretty cool to see them do that.
There is no doubt that tinkering promotes a lot of essential skills, as well as make our kindergartners' learning very personal. Our next stop is going to be across the school district in North Sashaba Elementary.